What is up, everybody? It's Brady from the Nosebleeds, and this is another episode of the After Hours series. Today, we're going to be talking about the Giannis Antetokounmpo deal that went on last night. If you guys watched the podcast yesterday, you know I talked a lot about Giannis and the Celtics, but turns out that deal did not happen. He ended up going to Vice City with the Miami Heat. Granted, last night, we mainly heard that he was probably going to go to the Celtics. That was the favorite. So I didn't really know much about the Heat. I heard the Heat were probably going to back out, but obviously that did not happen. But let's go to these trade details real quick. Here it is. The Heat get Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bobby Portis. The Bucks get Tyler Herro, who's actually from Wisconsin, so he gets to go back to his hometown. I heard he's thrilled about that. They get a young Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kasparas Jakucionis, 3 first-round picks, 1 pick swap, and 1 second rounder. You know, I can see this deal being good for either team, to be honest with you. And there's a lot of reasons why. But last night this happened. I'm not going to lie, I kind of fell asleep. I was tired after the podcast, but this is big. And I kind of want to talk about why the Celtics were favorited in this deal at first and kind of what all went down with that, because that's what everybody thought was going to happen. So I'm going to kind of get into that right now. But reports said the Bucks had narrowed the race to Boston, Miami. Those were the 2 destined cities that Giannis was supposed to go to. And obviously went to Miami. But Boston had put Jaylen Brown on the table. And for a lot of fans, that immediately made Boston look like the leader, because Jaylen Brown's by far the best player. I feel like you could probably get in that, especially with the Celtics wanting Jaylen Brown pretty much out. This is honestly, we just probably watched his last season as a Celtic. So with him not being in that Giannis deal, he's definitely, I feel like, going to get traded this upcoming offseason. But, you know, Jaylen Brown was the leader for this Boston team, and a lot of people can ask themselves why that did not happen. But I think it's because, to be honest, the Bucks just wanted more depth, and I feel like they're trying to build for their future. So I think that's really a main reason why they did this. But if Milwaukee's simple goal, was to get the best player back, I think Boston wins easily. Jaylen Brown is a Finals MVP and one of the best two-way wings in basketball. That's why many insiders and fans suddenly thought Boston was about to steal Giannis. But why the deal fell apart, I think this is where it kind of gets interesting. And I feel like there's several reasons why Milwaukee likely preferred Miami. First off, Miami wanted a rebuild package, and I think the Heat gave them a great opportunity with that. And this is possibly a spec of that Thunder Clippers deal that we saw a few years ago with Paul George, and, Shea was in that and blah, blah, blah. We'll get into that later on in the podcast, though, because there's some similarities, and hopefully this deal does not end up like that for the Heat. But I think, Jaylen Brown being 29 and on a massive Supermax contract, if Milwaukee was to take Jaylen Brown, they're not rebuilding, but, they're stuck trying to compete immediately, and they just give away their superstar player. So I don't really see, the point in that kind of, but I see it, but I don't. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, and they're going to be paying one player over $300 million, which is a little crazy. And Miami offered young players, draft picks, flexibility, and future assets, which in the long term could be amazing for this team, especially if these players develop into stars. And I think that's often what teams want when they're moving a franchise superstar. Miami pretty much gutted almost their entire roster to get Giannis. So that could be a big issue for them possibly. And I heard that Bucks ownership also had concerns. This is reported. I guess one report suggested Milwaukee ownership preferred Miami's package because of concerns over Brown's long-term commitment to Milwaukee. If you think about it, I mean, Giannis wanted out eventually, and I feel like the Bucks may have asked themselves, what happens if we trade Brown and he asks out in a year? You know what I mean? I just don't know how long he would want to be in Milwaukee. And I think with the deal that the Heat gave, I think those are players that we could see stay on that team for a bit. And I think Miami's package didn't create that risk, to be honest. And personally, I think more assets beat one star. And, Miami offer, we already talked about it. You got Tyler Herro, Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez, and you got Jakucionis, and you also had multiple picks that were offered in that deal as well. And Milwaukee may have just, simply valued quantity over quality, which is a very important thing, I feel like. So they could now, at this opportunity with that they were given, look at the background real quick, sorry, have the trade details up there, not like you can see it anyway, but they can develop Kel'el Ware now. They can develop Jakucionis. Hope I'm saying that right, to be honest. I'm really bad at saying names, but whatever. And, in the future, if they wanted to, they could flip Tyler Herro. Not saying they're going to do it, but I believe Tyler Herro is only 26. Pretty young, and especially, he's a decent player. So as of right now, he's pretty much that star player on the Bucks right now. And they could also trade Jaime Jaquez Jr. later, and then they could use those picks to rebuild their entire team and bring back Milwaukee basketball. It was crazy. But another thing is, how did Miami pull this off? I think a lot of stuff is, Pat Riley. He is absolutely insane. He ended up getting LeBron, Jimmy Butler. Also, though, there has been a lot of them backing out of deals and not getting those big players. So, this is a big opportunity for them to actually get a really big star player. And if you guys have realized, too, whenever there's a star player in the market, I feel like a lot of destinations they want to go to is Miami. They have their saying, the heat culture. A lot of people love to go down to Miami, play in the, tropical vibes and tropical environment. And I don't know, there's just it's a very popular trade destination or free agent destination for a lot of NBA players. But if you guys pay attention to basketball and this entire thing, Giannis reportedly did want to go to Miami. That was what we thought was going to happen earlier on before the Celtics started taking that lead. But obviously he went to Miami, so it doesn't matter. But throughout June, there was a lot of stuff with him going to Miami, even before that. So, this might not be a surprise to people. It is to me, to be honest, just because of how I thought the Celtics were going to get this deal done. And that's all I talked about in the podcast yesterday. So I kind of feel stupid a little bit with that deal not happening. But it is what it is. The Heat did own the 13th pick in the draft, which is going to start in an hour exactly right now. And that became a huge piece of the package because Milwaukee immediately gets a lottery level asset, and I believe they have the 10th pick as well. So those are 2 first round picks that they'll be able to have in this loaded draft class. And I think right now a winner, both of these teams are winners, I feel like, in this deal, and it's really just going to see how this plays out, to be honest with you. But I think right now you could say the Heat are winners, and the reason is because they have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously they have a superstar player alongside of Bam Adebayo. That's arguably the best defensive back front court in basketball right now, to be honest. And now every team in the East has to deal with Giannis, and then Bam Adebayo too, which, we saw him put up 83 points last season. So that was crazy. And this is up there, I feel like, one of Pat Riley's best moves or greatest moves ever. As of right now, we don't really know about the best just because we don't know how Giannis is going to end up being on the Heat. Obviously, we believe he's going to be good, but you never know. But I think also the Bucks win this deal a lot too, just because of, they're entering that rebuild phase now, and they haven't been able to win with Giannis beside that NBA championship they had, but he hasn't had anybody else alongside him. So I think these draft picks could help them out a lot when they get to that point. And with Tyler Herro and just the people that they got from the Heat, I think they can get developed pretty well in Milwaukee if they get the chance to. And this Milwaukee team can be up there, I feel like, in the next 5 years with a great squad, given with what they were given. So if you guys disagree with that, let me know. I feel like for the East, this is going to be pretty difficult for them, but not really at the same time, just because, the Heat pretty much gutted their entire roster, and that can come with a lot of issues, with their depth and their bench and all of that stuff. So that can cause some roadblocks for them. But you never know, dude. I mean, the Heat are a solid team. They got Giannis. We just got to see what they're doing in free agency, to be honest with you, to see what other pieces they can get, and we can really tell how this team will form throughout the season. But a little debate I have, and if you guys are watching this and put it in the comments, you guys can let me know. Would you rather have package A, Jaylen Brown, or would you rather have the deal that the Heat and Bucks did with Tyler Herro, Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr, and multiple picks that they were given? Would you rather have that deal with Jaylen Brown, 1-for-1 star, which obviously probably wouldn't have been the actual deal. There would have been somebody else involved. Or you could do the deal that the Heat and the Bucks did, which I'm put on the screen right now. I think that's a hard decision to honestly think about. But you can call me crazy to say, honestly, I would rather take this Heat deal because I feel like the Bucks are in a rebuild phase right now. And the Heat, I think with getting Giannis, they're in a win now phase. So I don't know, man. I really don't know. So, I mean, you could really expect a mid-year for the Bucks, but in the future, if this works out for them, hey, man, I said it here, dude. I literally said it here. But something I want to kind of talk about now as we get to the end of this. I've been talking very fast. I'm kind of losing my breath. I kind of need to fix that. But this kind of reminds me, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, the Thunder and Clippers trade in 2019 when the Los Angeles Clippers traded for Paul George. At the time, we thought that was pretty crazy, but that turned out a massive mistake, and the Thunder have became an amazing squad because of that deal, and they still have so many picks because of it. If you forget about it, the Clippers got Paul George, and Oklahoma City got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and they got a mountain of draft picks, literally an insane amount of draft picks, and the future flexibility that they have. And at the time, a lot of people were saying the Clippers won because they got a superstar, with Paul George. And Paul George did play great on the Clippers, and he was solid. Obviously, with OKC, he was unbelievable. I believe he had his best season in OKC, to be honest. Hot take. But like I kind of just said, I don't know. I think he had a little downfall after the Clippers. I said he was just great, but I kind of feel like he wasn't playing at the level he was in OKC when he got traded to the Clippers. And the Thunder got some great years out of him, and it helped their team out a lot with this deal that they made because of who they got. And I feel like the Heat could regret this deal just because they lost Tyler Herro. He's been on that team since he's been drafted. Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., like I said, Kasparas Jakucionis, and the multiple first-round picks that they gave up. That's pretty much almost their entire young foundation that this team had. And if Miami doesn't win a title in the next 2 to 3 years, do you think this deal is even worth it? Because that's honestly a massive gamble that the Heat are getting Giannis. And to be honest, I feel like if Miami doesn't win a title in the next 2 to 3 years, I don't think this trade was worth it at all. Because Milwaukee's going to have that time in the next 2 to 3 years to rebuild their team, and they might be up there to make a run in the playoffs. You never know. But I feel like the reason why the Heat can be different from the Clippers in this situation is because they're trading for Giannis. They're not trading for Paul George. Giannis is a 2-time MVP, NBA champion, a finals MVP, and one of the greatest players of this generation. And if you're going all in for a player, I believe Giannis is the player that you would do that for. And I feel like a lot of people who watch basketball would just say, the team that gets Giannis wins. But you got to think, though, like I just said, with the people that the Bucks got, I mean, that's a lot of value, especially with those picks. Those picks could turn out to be massive superstars. You know what I mean? So you never really know. I think a lot of people are also focusing on Tyler Herro, but I think Kel'el Ware, if he develops into like an 18-plus points guy, 10 rebounds, And, he's already great defending, but if he, has better, like an elite rim protection, I think Milwaukee suddenly has a potential franchise cornerstone with them. In years back, we could honestly say that the Bucks got their next star in the Giannis trade, but he's not going to be as good as Giannis, but he could possibly develop into a star. I mean, he is a young player, so who knows? And honestly, I don't think Tyler Herro, he's not just a salary filler. Tyler Herro is only 26, and he was an all-star caliber player before the trade even happened. And Milwaukee has, I feel like, a couple options what they can do with him. They can keep him. They can build around him. Or like I said at the beginning, they can honestly flip him for more picks if they want to. And I know Tyler Herro, he's already talked about it. He's grew up here in Milwaukee. I think he's going to love it here. I don't know if he'll want to leave just because of, his connection with them. But either way, he is an asset. And like I said earlier, I think it shocked me noticing he wasn't going to go to the Celtics because that's what I thought he was going to go to. But hey, man, I think Miami wins this short term. Milwaukee in the long term is going to win this deal. Obviously, I think a lot of people could agree with me on that. And I think this is almost exactly what happened in the Paul George, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander trade, where, the Clippers got their immediate star power and the Thunder got a decade of just flexibility. And if Giannis brings a championship to the city of Miami, I don't think anybody in South Beach will care what picks they gave up, to be honest. But if they fall short, and I think Kel'el Ware and Jakucionis becomes a star, people will look back at this deal and they'll honestly look back at what the Thunder and Clippers did, like I just talked about. So I don't know. I gave my opinions. I gave my thoughts. If you guys want to put some thoughts down below in the comment section, feel free to do that. But wow. Oh my gosh. Wow. I just talked a lot and very fast. I'm sorry about that. My throat is very raspy right now. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the After Hours. We're going to try to do this as much as we can, just given on what there is going around in the sports. But I thought I would do a quick little episode just kind of talking about it personally. But there it is, man. Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Miami Heat. Absolutely crazy. Hope everyone has a great night. The draft is currently going to take place here in around 50 minutes. So we're going to see what happens with that. But everybody stay blessed. Everybody stay great. It's Brady. I'm signing off. I appreciate you guys. Peace. Peace one more time.